The real secret sauce to any game, especially one as fun as Clash Royale, isn't the gameplay, it is the lore and the story. That's what breathes life into characters, makes the arenas memorable, and truly hooks you in. The Clash universe has a massive, beloved backdrop, but here's the catch. Because the story's been told across so many different places, the main games, card descriptions, Clashorama, lore drop shorts, and well, a lot more, a lot of the pieces don't actually fit together, leaving weird inconsistencies in the lore. And so, after going over every troop in Clash Royale, rewatching Clashorama and Supercell's official lore drops, I'll be bringing you inconsistencies that have stuck out like a sore thumb, at least for me. The most basic fact of the Clash universe is that everything revolves around Elixir. This glowing pink substance isn't just a resource, it is the raw material of creation. In Clash Royale, this is shown directly by the Elixir cost. The same principle applies in Clash of Clans, where Elixir is the energy source used in barracks to train troops. In both games, troops are not merely deployed or recruited, they are formed from this substance. This core relationship is further shown by what happens when a troop is killed. When they do get killed, they don't just disappear. They sort of poof out of existence into a splash or puddle of bright pink elixir goop and leave behind a swirling elixir effect. If troops are just solid elixir constructs, how are they actually, born? And more importantly, what happens when they die? Does a fallen troop get absorbed by the ground, refined, and immediately remade, or are they truly gone forever, replaced by an identical clone the next time you drop the card? The lore is fuzzy here and, well, pretty morbid, if you will. We see hints in Clashorama where characters seem to respawn after being defeated, suggesting they aren't permanently dead and they just reappear. But if that's the case, is the entire battle just a continuous cycle of life and rebirth fueled by the king's elixir reserves? And then there are the spawners, like Goblin Hut. This is where the elixir to troop process gets truly bizarre if you really think about it. The hut is kind of like an automated temporary factory that just churns out goblins. The card's description famously warns, don't look inside, you don't want to see how they're made, and fair enough. I also don't really want to think about it. Troops are made from elixir, but what about the kings? Apparently they're also made from elixir, which brings a question. What happens when a king is killed? This happens in one of Clashorama's episodes titled Clash Royale 5th Anniversary Awards, where, spoiler alert, Blue King wins before he's shot and evaporated into elixir by the Red King's troops. After that, the troops start fighting each other as if nothing special ever happened when quite literally their king was assassinated. So, do they have a replacement king, or does the king respawn? There's no official answer, but if I were to answer the question, I'd say that the king respawns somehow. And if respawning of the king is possible, then the troop respawn theory is also plausible. Supercell never really makes it officially clear whether there are more than two kings in the same universe, but if we look at some trailers, for example the Clan Wars trailer, we can see more than two respective kings. Of course, this was more likely done intentionally, and each king is its own player, and it's Clan Wars, but if we don't break the fourth wall, it looks really weird. There should only be two kings in the Clash universe. They are the only brothers, so having more copies of the king would just be sorta scary. Following the royal family, I'm gonna blow your mind with this fact. So as we know, the kings are brothers, and they both have princesses as daughters, while the Red King also has a son, that being the Little Prince. The family tree only shows one daughter per king, which kinda gets confusing, because, there are two princesses on each princess tower, plus the third princess has a troop. We also have no idea what their names are. According to Clashorama episode Archer Departure, the left princess from the king is called Georgina, and the right princess is called Mary, while the troop princess's name is Ellie. But that's also not consistent. In another Clashorama episode, A Night to Remember, the left blue princess is named Julia, who falls in love with the red prince named Raymond. This is a reference to Romeo and Juliet, if it wasn't obvious. But of course, the blue king isn't happy with what's going on, and he tries to stop the relationship. Of course, that's what most fathers would do in order to protect their daughters, but I do believe there's also another reason. Let's look at the royal titles. The princess is called that because she's a king's daughter. By that logic, the prince has the title because he must be a king's son. And in the Clash universe, that king would be either the red or blue king. Clashorama ran with this logic, making the princess Julia the daughter of Blue King, and the prince Raymond the son of the Red King. This automatically makes them first cousins. Suddenly their intense rivalry and implied romantic tension gets incredibly complicated, and honestly a little weird. You can even imagine the Blue King's opposition to the relationship being less about war and more about, that uncomfortable family tree. Thankfully, the core Clash Royale lore has never changed. In the official, newer lore shorts, the prince is nowhere near the Red King's family. He's simply not presented as the princess's brother or the king's son. But then here's the new question. If he's not the son of the Red King or the Blue King, then where does he get his title from? If the Clash world is only made up of the two warring kingdoms, which royal family does the prince actually belong to? It leaves a massive hole in his backstory, but honestly, most of us are happy the main game's lore dropped the messy family dynamic and kept his origin a compelling mystery, because the Clash-orama one is pretty Alabama. Sweet home Alabama. It's bad. And hey, if you are enjoying deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe. I've got way more Clash mysteries coming your way. The biggest source of chaos, though, is the relationship between the witch, the giant skeleton, and their supposed kids, Larry and Peter, the guard. The Clash-orama comic strip boldly declares that the giant skeleton is Larry's father, making him and Peter full siblings. But this immediately runs headfirst into a giant contradiction. According to the same comic, Larry, Peter, and two other skeletons, Kevin, Toby, and Carl, where Peter and Kevin fit in the same four is another inconsistency entirely, were created by the witch via a failed spell, according to one of Clash Royale's lore drops. They weren't conceived. It's impossible to do such a thing. Just look at who Giant Skeleton is. Literally a skeleton. They were just an accidental magical byproduct. If these skeletons were magically created, the giant skeleton can't possibly be their biological father. It's a bit of an oopsie that Supercell never fully cleaned up. To make any sense of this, fans have settled on a popular theory. The giant skeleton, who was named Monstro in another Clash-orama episode, must be their estranged stepfather. The theory is strongly supported by the Lost and Crowned minifilm. In a brief but telling moment, Larry walks past a giant skeleton and pauses, giving him a subtle, confused look, which implies an unfamiliarity, suggesting Monstro left the family when Larry was still a baby. Kind of allows us to acknowledge the comic's claim of fatherhood while using the failed spell lore to explain why the relationship is non-biological and why Monstro is an absent figure in these skeletons' lives. Ultimately, the entire skeleton family dynamic, from the contradiction of being both magically created and having a biological father to the confusion over the different witch characters, Brenna, Brianna, and the Mother Witch, and the varying names of the skeletons. It is a just big, messy part of Clash lore. Barbarians are the face of the Clash universe. They've been there since the very beginning of the Clash franchise, and they are here to stay. Though I kind of think the barbarians in Clash Royale and barbarians from Clash-orama are different. So, barbarians. What are they? They're big, they're strong, durable warriors who attack everything while speaking gibberish. In fact, barbarians are called barbarians in real life because the language they spoke sounded like gibberish, like barbar to the ancient Greeks or Romans, therefore the name barbarian. Non-Roman. And the same is true for the Clash barbarian, plus they're dumb, said to have only one brain cell. But if you've been paying attention, you'd also notice that the barbarians in Clash of Clans or Clash Royale and the barbarians of Clash-orama are entirely different. For instance, they do talk in Clash-orama. They're capable of speaking and aren't as dumb as they're portrayed in the Clash games.
Who am I kidding? My sword is gone forever. A barbarian without a sword is just a, I don't even know.
Alright, so let's circle back to Elixir yet again. If you remember, there are two types of Elixir, regular pink Elixir and dark Elixir. The latter is capable of buffing troops, making them much stronger than their Elixir counterparts. For example, the bowler is just a goblin who drank dark Elixir. Minions are also made from dark Elixir, and Clash Royale was going to use the same logic when they introduced evolutions. A barbarian steps in a puddle of dark elixir, licks it, and he evolves. It is logical to follow the already set-in-place lore, but then they changed it completely with their lore drop videos. For example, Wallbreaker's evolution. According to the lore drop, Wallbreakers usually have an annual race competition to see who's the fastest, and Larry, out of every skeleton, was one of those Wallbreakers. He evolved by grabbing sticks of dynamite and rolling on top of his explosive barrel. Boom, no dark elixir, he just evolved. The next evolution is the Evolved Wizard, which kinda also doesn't make any sense. We learned from the video that wizards compete with each other not only with magical abilities, but by hairstyles as well, and one wizard used so much hairspray that his hair was just a massive balloon, which caught fire during a battle. And that got him so popular among all the wizards that he just evolved. Once again, no dark elixir required, which just doesn't make sense. The evolution lore vids really don't show everything. P.E.K.K.A.'s evolution lore drop is the most controversial video of all, because it destroyed thousands of fan theories regarding P.E.K.K.A.'s identity, and the whole video is just full of errors. So let me explain. The official lore drop reveals P.E.K.K.A.'s origin as the banished nature spirit, the mysterious fifth spirit formerly of the arena. Kicked out for being useless in combat, this spirit found an abandoned suit of armor. It rested inside for so long that the spirit and the metal became one, transforming it into P.E.K.K.A. So boom. And while this explains P.E.K.K.A.'s distinctive love of butterflies and nature, this new backstory ignores and directly contradicts a massive amount of pre-existing stuff, creating yet another major inconsistency in the Clash universe. First of all, P.E.K.K.A. was mysterious ever since her release back in 2012 in Clash of Clans. No one knew who she was, and players were coming up with many different theories as to who she could have been. Was she an ancient warrior robot, an ancient samurai? People had a lot of expectations, and they were all shattered by a puny nature spirit. More than a decade of mystery dropped in water, and there is no way that this nature spirit makes sense canonically, because Clash Royale was made in 2016. Clash Arena did not exist before 2016, and P.E.K.K.A. only existed in Clash of Clans since 2012. If the Clash Royale arena didn't exist in 2012, then how or who banished the nature spirit from the supposed arena? P.E.K.K.A. already existed for Clash of Clans before the nature spirit and Clash Royale, so it already doesn't make any sense. But let's say somehow it does. Then how does one explain the already pre-existing P.E.K.K.A. armor on the ground? It was there before Nature Spirit stumbled upon it and created the P.E.K.K.A. Aside from this, P.E.K.K.A.'s insides were shown to us already. In the Clashorama episode 12 Days of Clashmas, she is empty on the inside and has a record player built inside of her. A mini P.E.K.K.A. can also be seen inside there in the Zap Evolution lore video drop, which we'll talk about soon. So yeah, these lore drops are incredibly inconsistent with the pre-existing Clash lore, most of that being Clashorama. According to an accepted theory, or rather the canon lore shown by trailers of both Clash Royale and Clash of Clans, majority of the troops we see in Clash Royale come from Clash of Clans villages. These are troops chosen by the king himself and invited to the arena. Plus, Clash Arena being a thing, you would think that the villagers, including troops, must have heard of it, right? Well, it turns out that's not right. Neither the Clash of Clans troops nor Clash Royale troops know who they are or where they come from, and I kinda find that weird.
What kind of crazy village is that?
I'm pretty sure the villagers would know about the kingdoms and Royale Arena, but it looks like they don't. So that means the troops in Clash of Clans and troops in Clash Royale, while they do similar stuff and look the same, are different entirely. This next one isn't an inconsistency, but I still found it intriguing. We all know that the Clash universe is its own, universe that isn't connected to our own, but somehow modern nations exist in the Clash world. Could Clash troops be traveling between universes? Because it certainly wouldn't be the first time they did something like that. Clash troops have appeared in different Supercell games and vice versa, suggesting that they either share the same universe or they have the ability to travel between them. I mean, they even visited Erling Haaland and took him to Clash of Clans through a portal, so maybe? The introduction video of Battle Ram also shows an intriguing scene where we're led to believe that the Clash universe is actually a digital simulation of some sort. I am again going back to the elixir talk because while writing this script, I remembered that Clash troops drink elixir. Why is that a problem, you might ask? Well, because they are made from elixir. They bleed elixir. They leave elixir on the ground, but they also drink it. And we can't really compare that to water because, while we are made of 70% water, we don't bleed water, do we? Elixir to the troops is like alcohol. They drink it and it tastes good, but does that mean they would be drinking each other? You couldn't really tell the difference between fresh elixir and the elixir from a dead troop, but I digress. I'll just stop entertaining this theory because it just sounds so weird.
Is this elixir delicious today or what?
The next inconsistency is also weird, and it's one of the times where Supercell contradicts themselves once more. It is about skeletons. I'm not gonna ask how skeletons are walking, functioning undead beings who can speak despite having no skin or organs. It's a fantasy game after all, but I have two different mysterious questions. Number one, whose skeletons are they? They must have been skeletons of living beings at one point, right? But who? Were they barbarians at one point? Were they knights, goblins? We don't know. And as for my second question, how the heck do they feel pain? I was rewatching a Clash-orama episode called Minor Problem, and there was this scene in particular which kinda seemed funny to me. A skeleton bit another skeleton and he felt pain. If you've never had a biology lesson before, we humans and animals feel pain thanks to nerves that transmit the signals from the impact point to the brain, telling it that it freaking hurt. But skeletons are nothing but bones. They don't have any organs, nor skin, nor a nervous system, yet a single bite hurt him. If this was all, I wouldn't have said anything, but then later, the same skeleton just breaks off his foot and replaces it with another one. So you're telling me that a single bite hurt him, but when he broke off his foot, then replaced it, it didn't. This didn't only happen in one episode either. In another episode, Bowlers Anonymous, a red princess is saved by a skeleton whose foot accidentally breaks off before he disappears. The princess, fallen in love, saves his foot and searches all across the kingdom to find the skeleton who saved her from danger. This is referencing Cinderella. As a result, a bunch of skeletons broke off their feet to have a chance with the princess. But as the princess was putting the foot on another skeleton, it hurt them like a lot.
I can have you and me live happily down, ever down, after. Ow, ow, ow.
Oh, sorry. It doesn't fit.
Brother, you don't have nerves. How do you feel pain? But hey, walking and talking skeletons might as well make them feel pain inconsistently. Okay, while recording this audio, I also have to throw in, if troops disintegrate into elixir when they die, then how are there even skeletons to begin with? If everything in the Clash universe is from elixir and turns back into elixir when they die, how are there corpses to make skeletons from? I digress. Oh boy, another incorrect lore drop time. Clash Royale dropped a lore video of Zap's evolution, where they also talked about the Electro Wizard's origins. They say that Ewiz is apparently not a wizard, but an inventor who accidentally drank a Zap vial instead of his coffee. He became the Electro Wizard without actually being a wizard. He apparently doesn't know any magic either. So then, why is he called the Electro Wizard? Or why was he included in the introduction of the Void Spell if he isn't a wizard? Magic Archer himself knows more about magic than Electro Wizard does, yet he's not included. Also, in a Clash-orama episode, Donnie and the Spell Factory, Electro Wizard can clearly be seen in the laboratory where only wizards are allowed. So why they took away the whole wizard status from him in the lore drop, who the heck knows? He will still be a wizard in my eyes. So just to keep roasting the lore drops, I guess, my next gripe, Battle Ram Evolution lore drop. The video goes over how carrying the Battle Ram is actually the most honorable thing a barbarian can do before becoming an elite barbarian. And this is true and confirmed by a Clash-orama comic strip, as well as where they show the barbarian's career path. Eventually, they get to evolved barbarians. Apparently, the evolved barbarians are so strong that they always break the Battle Ram in hand. So in order to fix that, they came up with a brilliant idea to put a third evolved barbarian inside the Battle Ram to hold it in place. Which, okay, that's cool. Instead, it isn't, because apparently the third barbarian evaporates whenever the log eventually breaks. The log just drops and disappears along with the supposed barbarian inside it. Poor guy. There are two kings in the Clash universe, the Red King and the Blue King. But would you be surprised to hear that there's also the Purple King? Well, technically, he isn't in the game nor anywhere else, but he was shown in one of Clash Royale's commercials titled Perfect Your Strategy. Purple is the mix of red and blue, so who knows, maybe there exists another king far, far away from the red and blue kingdoms. Also, I'd like to note another big inconsistency regarding lore drops. One official lore drop, the one focusing on the goblin machine, established a bit of a strange rule. Goblins apparently get dumber as they age. This makes baby goblins smart, tactical geniuses, while older goblins are the clueless idiots we know and love. But in this commercial, the white-bearded goblin is old but also wise. So the whole getting dumber as they age thing isn't true for all of the goblins, I guess? Just another example of the developers prioritizing funny over the established consistent logic and lore. But hey, that's just a theory. This last inconsistency just caught my eye while I was looking for a specific moment in a Clash-orama episode. I'll let you watch the clip and figure out who the oddball is. Did you see him? Yeah, what the heck heck is a Clash of Clans dragon doing in the Clash Royale arena? Baby Dragon exists for a reason. It's pretty clear that the lore of the Clash universe is less a rigid history book and more a flexible mess. Perhaps this constant state of flux isn't by accident. By occasionally changing the rules or leaving huge questions unanswered, like the prince's origin or Giant Skeleton's identity, Supercell keeps us theorizing and talking, making the Clash world feel larger and more mysterious. It's acceptable and frankly normal for a studio to bend the lore for a great joke or a cool video plot. But we always gotta remember what makes a funny commercial isn't necessarily what makes a lore-accurate history. If you are craving more Clash mysteries, I've got the perfect follow-up video. 2 lore facts for every single card. Trust me, it was a lot of fun to make, and I'm sure it'll be even more fun to watch. I'll see you there.